Eleanor dragged her broken body through the mud, whispering her father's name like a prayer no God was listening to. Her husband's whip had split her lip. Her leg was bent wrong, and she could hear him circling back to finish her. She shut her eyes and waited to die. If you believe a woman should never have to beg for her own life, subscribe to this channel and stay with me to the last word. And tell me in the comments which town you're watching from, so I know how far this story has traveled. The first word out of Jonathan Hale's mouth that night was her name, and it was not said gentle. Eleanor. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her jaw was ringing like a struck bell. Eleanor Whitmore Hale. You will sit up and you will hear me. I hear you. Not near well enough. He hit her again, open-handed across the mouth, and her head snapped against the sideboard of the wagon like a loose stone knocking in a bucket. Jonathan, please. Please is not a word I care to hear from you tonight, ma'am. You said we was ridin' to town. And we are ridin' to town. After. After what? After you put your name on what I told you to put your name on back at the house. I won't. You will. I won't set my hand to nothin' that ain't mine to give. He laughed at that. It was a dry, ugly sound, the sound a man makes when he's already settled on how a thing is going to end and is only enjoying the walk there. Ain't yours to give. No, sir. Your daddy is dead, Eleanor. I know he is. Your daddy is dead, and you stood in a church and swore before God and Pastor Mullins and half this county that what was yours would be mine. I didn't swear that. Close enough. It ain't close enough. He jerked the reins and the wagon lurched so hard she bit down on her own tongue. The taste of iron filled her mouth. You listen to me, woman. I'm listenin'. There's a strip of ground on the river your daddy left you. 400 acres. Good timber. River frontage. I know what he left me. Then you know what it's worth. I know what it's worth to me. It ain't for sale. It ain't for sale. It ain't for sale. He mimicked her in a high, thin voice. You sound like a child, Eleanor. Maybe I do. A grown woman does not keep land from her husband. A grown woman keeps what her daddy dug his hands into the ground for. He struck her a third time, and this one was not open-handed. This one was the carved walnut grip of his riding whip, and it landed along her temple, and for a long moment she did not know where she was or whose breath she was hearing. When she came back to herself, the wagon had stopped. Get down. Jonathan. I said get down, Mrs. Hale. We ain't nowhere. We're exactly where I want us to be. Please. Get down off that wagon before I pull you down. She tried to move and could not. Her left leg had gone strange on her like it belonged to somebody else who wasn't answering. She whispered it out loud almost to herself. I can't. You can. My leg, Jonathan, something ain't right with my leg. You'll walk. I cannot walk. He climbed down off the wagon, then slow and deliberate, the way a man walks up to a hog he's already marked for the knife. He came around the side. He looked up at her, and she saw in his face something she had not quite let herself see before, though God knew she had suspected it. He was not angry with her. He was not even displeased with her. He was finished with her. Eleanor. Yes. I have been patient. You have not been patient, Jonathan. I have been more patient than any man in this county would have been. That ain't so. Hush. That ain't so, and you know it ain't. Hush, woman. He reached up and took her by the collar of her dress and pulled, and she came down off the wagon, the way a sack of grain comes down loose and heavy and without her own will in it. Her knees went into the mud of the road, and her hands went into the mud of the road, and her face would have gone in too if she hadn't thrown her shoulder against the wheel. Stand. I cannot. Stand up, Eleanor. I am trying. Try harder. I am trying as hard as I know how. He crouched down beside her. He spoke low, almost kindly, and that was the part that frightened her worst. He had never been kind. Kindness out of him was a thing being used for a purpose. Listen to me now. I'm listenin'. You are going to sign those deeds. I ain't. You are. Here, on the board of this wagon, I brought ink. I ain't signin' land my daddy bled for into your hands. Your daddy's hands are in the ground, Eleanor. Don't you speak of my daddy. Your daddy's hands are in the ground, and the only hands left on this earth that matter to you are mine. That ain't so. Oh, it's so. It's just about the only thing that is so anymore. She closed her eyes. She tried to think of her father's kitchen. She tried to think of the rag rug by the stove, and the tin cup he drank out of, and the way he used to hum when he read the paper. She tried to put herself in that kitchen, but Jonathan's breath was too close to her face, and he smelled of whiskey and horse sweat. And something else. Something underneath, some ugliness of the soul that smelled worse than both. Eleanor. No. Sign. No. Last time I ask. Then quit askin'. He struck her with the whip handle again, and she did not count after that, because there did not seem to be a point in counting. When he stopped, she was on her side in the ditch by the road, and her shawl was gone, and one of her boots was gone, and she could feel rain on her face, though she did not remember it starting. Jonathan? Still talking? Well, I reckon that's something. Jonathan, you leave me here and I will die. Yes, ma'am, I reckon you will. They will hang you. They will not. They will. They will find a woman in a ditch with a broken neck, and they will say, there was highwaymen on the road to Albany, same as there has been highwaymen on the road to Albany every summer since the war. And they will say, Mrs. Hale was a woman of weak nerves. And they will bury you in a pine box next to your daddy, and I will go on. Jonathan, please. You said not to say please. Please. He knelt, and he did a thing she did not expect. He brushed the wet hair back off her forehead, almost tender, almost the way a husband might do a thing. You should have signed. I couldn't. You should have. He was my father, Jonathan. He was a fool, and you are a fool's daughter, and tonight is the last night you will ever be either one. Then he stood, and he took the leather satchel off the seat of the wagon, the one with her father's deeds in it, the one with her mother's brooch folded into the lining, the one with everything she had left of who she used to be. He slung it over his shoulder. He climbed back up onto the wagon. He turned the horses. Jonathan? Goodbye, Mrs. Hale. Jonathan. And the wagon was gone. She lay there a long while before she understood that she had been left. The rain was not hard, but it was steady, and it was cold for August. Cold enough that her teeth began to knock together in her head like somebody else was doing it to her. She tried to move her leg. She tried to move her arm. She could move her arm, which surprised her. She could move her fingers. She could move her mouth. Help! Her own voice came out so small she barely heard it. Help! Nobody answered. Nobody was there to answer. This was not a road with houses on it. This was the stretch between two nowheres. She thought for a time that she would pray. She tried to pray, and found that the words she knew were not the words she needed. She thought for a time that she would just let herself go on and die. It seemed easier. Her body was already mostly of a mind to do it. Her blood was warm where it ran and cold where it had already run, and the difference was beginning to feel almost companionable. She thought of her father. She thought of her father's hands, the blunt, thick fingers of them, the burn scar across the back of the left one, where he had caught hold of a cookpot without a rag one winter morning when he was thinking of something else. She thought of her father saying, "Ellie girl, you are not the quittin' kind." She opened her eyes. "I am not the quittin' kind." Her voice was a little louder this time. Still nobody heard it. But she heard it, and that was something. She tried to roll onto her belly. Her legs screamed at her for it. She rolled anyway. She got her good arm under her. She dragged herself 3 inches toward the road and had to stop. "Ellie girl, you are not the quittin' kind." Another 3 inches. "You are not the quittin' kind." Another. She did not know how long she had been dragging when she heard the hoofbeats. At first, she thought it was Jonathan coming back, and her blood went to ice in her, and she pressed her face into the mud and tried to make herself smaller than she was. The hoofbeats grew. They were coming fast, too fast. A coach, not a single rider. A coach coming at a pace no man ought to push a team at on a wet road at night. She thought, he has hired someone to finish it. She thought, Let them be quick then. She closed her eyes. The hoofbeats grew and grew, and then a man's voice cut through them, rough and low, the voice of somebody used to being obeyed. "Whoa, whoa now, whoa!" the horses cried out. The coach slid. She felt more than heard the wheels lock the leather, seize the whole rig, fighting the mud. "Easy, easy there. Hold 'em, Thomas." "I got 'em, Captain." "Hold 'em steady." "I got 'em." "Somebody's in the ditch." "Sir, somebody is in the ditch, Thomas." A pause. Then boots hit the road. Heavy boots. Fast. "Ma'am?" She did not answer. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" She did not answer. "Thomas, bring the lantern. Bring it here. Bring it close." "Comin', Captain." "Closer. Closer, man." "Lord have mercy." "Don't say nothin'. Just hold the light." "Captain, she's—" "I know what she is. Hold the light." She felt him kneel beside her. She felt a hand bare and warm go against the side of her throat, searching. Searching. Stopping. She's breathin'. Praise God. "Ma'am. Ma'am, you hear me now?" There she is. Don't try to move. Don't you try to move a thing. Please. I got you, ma'am. Nobody's going to hurt you. You hear me? Nobody is going to touch you. Please don't. Don't what, ma'am? Don't take me back. There was a long silence over her then. She could feel him looking at her. She could feel him taking in each cut and each bruise and each place where her dress was torn and each place where it wasn't torn but should have been, and she could feel him understanding piece by piece what had been done to her and by whom. "Ma'am." "Yes." "Who did this to you?" "Highwaymen." "Ma'am?" It was highwaymen on the road. "Ma'am, I have seen highwaymen work. This is not their work." It was. "Ma'am, you tell me or don't tell me. That is your choice, and I will not force you. But do not lie to me, not tonight, not with your blood going into the dirt." She began to cry then, and she could not stop. "Easy now, easy. I can't. You don't have to say nothing, not one word. I can't go back there. You ain't going back there. I can't. Ma'am, look at me." She could not look at him. She could not lift her head. "Ma'am, if you can hear me, you listen real careful now. My name is Samuel Ashford. I keep a house a few miles up this road. I am going to lift you up, and I am going to put you in that coach, and I am going to take you to my house, and my housekeeper, who is about the meanest woman God ever put on this earth, and also about the best, is going to clean you up and set that leg and put you to bed. That is what is going to happen. You hear me? I hear you. You say yes or you say no. Yes. Yes what? Yes, sir. Thomas. Captain. Get the blanket out of the box. Yes, sir. Get the brandy too. Yes, sir. And step lively, man. Step lively." She felt him slide his arm under her shoulders. She felt him slide the other under her knees. She cried out in spite of herself when he moved her leg, and he stopped, and she felt him go still. "I am sorry, ma'am. I am purely sorry. There is no way to do this that will not hurt you." "Do it." "Ma'am." "Do it, sir. Please. Before I lose my nerve." He lifted her. She bit down on her own lip so she would not scream, and she tasted blood on top of blood, and she thought for the last clear moment before she went under that. His coat smelled like pipe smoke and saddle leather, and something clean underneath some soap and wool smell of a house she had never been in. But that sounded in her head like a place where a woman might be able to close her eyes. "Thomas." "Captain." "Drive like the devil is behind us." "Yes, sir." "Because I got a feelin' he is." The coach moved. The world moved. Eleanor Whitmore Hale, who had been left in a ditch to die by a man who had vowed before God to protect her, went under into a dark that was not quite death held by a stranger whose face she had not yet seen. And miles up the road, Jonathan Hale drove his wagon through the summer rain with her father's deeds in the satchel at his feet and a smile on his mouth, and no earthly reason yet to suspect that the woman he had just buried alive was being carried breath by breath into the one house in the county he did not dare to walk into unannounced. The coach hit the front drive of Ashford House at a pace that tore gravel. "Thomas." "Sir." "Get the front door. Get it now." "I'm going, Captain." "And rouse Mrs. Mercer." "She's already up, sir. She's always up." "Then rouse her louder." Samuel carried Eleanor up the stone steps in his own arms, and she was not heavy, and that was part of what was wrong with her. She was too light for a woman grown. He could feel the bones of her through the wet wool of her dress. The front door opened before he reached it, and a woman stood in the gap with a candle in one hand and a butcher knife in the other. "Captain?" "Mrs. Mercer." "Whose is she?" "I don't rightly know yet." "Where'd you find her?" "Ditch, 2 miles south." "Alive?" "Barely." "Beaten?" "Yes, ma'am." "Whip?" "Handle of one, I'd say." Mrs. Mercer set the butcher knife down on the hall table, the way another woman might have set down a teacup. She looked at Eleanor's face. She looked at Eleanor's leg. She looked at the mud and the blood and the place on Eleanor's collarbone where the dress had torn clean through. "Bring her to the back bedroom." "Yes, ma'am." "Not the front. I don't want her where a caller can see." "No, ma'am." "And Captain." "Ma'am." "Whoever did this is going to come lookin'." "I know it." "And you are going to be standin' in the doorway when he gets here." "I know that too." Eleanor heard it all a long way off, as if through water. She tried to speak and could not. She tried to lift her hand and could not. The only thing she could do was keep breathing, and even that felt like a thing she had to remember to do on purpose. She did not remember being set down. She did not remember the dress being cut away. She came back into herself partway through it and found a woman's hands working at her ribs with a warm cloth and a grim mouth. "You are going to live, Mrs. Whoever you are." "I..." "Hush, don't waste breath telling me who you are. I don't need to know yet." "My leg." "Broke clean, I've said it. It'll heal crooked if you don't stay off it, so you are going to stay off it, and that is the end of that conversation." "Ma'am." "Hush." "My husband." Mrs. Mercer's hands stopped. "You're what now?" Eleanor shut her mouth. Mrs. Mercer laid the cloth aside very slowly, and she sat down on the edge of the bed, and she took Eleanor's good hand in both of her own and held it, and her hands were rough as bark and warm as a bread oven. "You don't got to say another word, child." "I didn't mean to say that." "I know you didn't." "Please don't tell him." "Tell who, darlin'?" "The captain." "Please don't tell the captain." "Darlin', the captain has eyes in his head." "Please." "Child, listen to me now. I've been in this house 11 years. I have seen that man pull a boy out of a river in January and not say one word about it at supper. I have seen him sit with a dyin' horse all night because the horse knew him. He already knows what he is looking at. You ain't got a secret from him. You got the opposite of a secret from him." "He'll send me back." "He will not send you back." "The law. Honey, the law in this county comes through this house before it goes anywhere else. You hear me? The law in this county drinks his coffee." Eleanor closed her eyes. Tears ran sideways out of them, into her hair, and Mrs. Mercer wiped them away without comment, the way she might have wiped jam off a child's chin. "What's your name, darlin'?" "Eleanor." "Eleanor what?" Eleanor did not answer. "All right, Eleanor will do. Eleanor will do just fine." A knock came at the door. 2 knocks. Soft. "Mrs. Mercer?" "A minute, Captain." "Is she awake?" "She is. Give me a minute." "Yes, ma'am." Mrs. Mercer looked down at Eleanor for a long, quiet moment. "Child, that man out there is going to come in this room and he is going to ask you some questions. You tell him what you want to tell him. You don't tell him what you don't want to tell him. You hear, 'Yes, ma'am.'" "But Eleanor." "Yes, ma'am. Don't lie to him twice. He'll forgive a woman one lie in a night like this one. He won't forgive 2. Mrs. Mercer rose and opened the door, and Samuel Ashford came in with his coat off and his sleeves rolled to the elbow, and for the first time Eleanor saw his face clearly. He was not a young man. He was not an old man. He was somewhere in the middle country of a man's life where a face has stopped changing and started meaning something. His eyes were gray. His mouth was grave. His hands, when he sat down in the chair beside the bed, were steady. "Ma'am." "Sir?" "I'm not going to stay long." "All right." "I am going to ask you 2 questions." "All right." "The first question is, do you want a doctor?" "No, sir." "Ma'am?" "No, sir. Please, sir." "A woman in your condition?" "A doctor will write it down, sir. A doctor will write my name down in a book. Please." He went still. She saw him understand. "All right." "Thank you, sir." "The second question." "Yes, sir." "Who did this to you?" She opened her mouth and said, "Highwaymen." He looked at her. She looked back. "Highwaymen," he said. "Yes, sir." "On the South Post Road?" "Yes, sir." "In the summer?" "Yes, sir." "With no wagon, no horses, no driver?" "Yes, sir." "And no other tracks but yours and your own boots?" She did not answer. "Ma'am, I am not trying to shame you. I am trying to tell you that what you have said to me is not what happened. And that is all right. You do not owe me the truth tonight, but you do owe me enough of it to keep us both alive." "I don't understand, sir." "Whoever left you in that ditch believes you are dead." "Yes. And if he rides by this house tomorrow and sees a lantern lit in the back bedroom and hears a woman's voice in it, he is going to know." "I know." "And he is going to come." "I know. So I am asking you, ma'am, not for myself, for Mrs. Mercer, for Thomas, for the girl who is going to bring you your broth in the morning. Who is going to come?" Eleanor Whitmore Hale shut her eyes, and when she opened them, she was somebody a little different than she had been before. "My husband." "Your husband?" "Yes, sir." "What is his name, ma'am?" "Jonathan Hale." Samuel Ashford did not move. He did not make a sound. But Mrs. Mercer behind him drew a breath as sharp as a knife coming out of a sheath. "Captain." "I heard her, Mrs. Mercer." "Captain, that is the man who—" "I heard her." "Who is coming to this house on Thursday to talk about—" "Mrs. Mercer. I heard her." Eleanor looked from one of them to the other. "He is coming here." "Ma'am?" "He is coming to this house." "Ma'am, listen to me." "He is coming here, Captain Ashford, and you are going to open the door to him." "I am not going to open the door to him." "You already said you would." "I did not know who I was opening it to." "You know now, and you know that every man in this county knows you said you would. And if you close that door on him, he will say, you are hiding something, and he will be right." Samuel was quiet. "He sold you that meetin'," Eleanor said. "Didn't he?" "Ma'am?" "He sold you a meetin' about the river, about land, about somebody's land." "Ma'am?" "Mine." Samuel's jaw moved. "It is my land, Captain Ashford. It was my father's. It is mine. And the papers my husband is going to bring to this house on Thursday are not real papers. Some of them are real. Some of them he wrote himself. And I can tell you which ones. I can tell you to the line." "Ma'am?" "Ask me." "Mrs. Hale." "Ask me. Which page?" "I will tell you." "Which handwriting?" "I will tell you." "Which seal?" "I will tell you." "Ask me." "Mrs. Hale, you are hurt." "I am hurt, Captain. I am not stupid." He looked at her then for a long, long time, and something in his face changed, and she saw a thing in him she had not seen before in any man in her life. It was not pity. Pity was easy. Pity was what Pastor Mullins wore when he came to the house after her father died. This was not pity. This was a man making a decision. "Thomas." From the hall, Thomas's voice immediate. "Sir." "Ride to Albany." "Tonight, sir." "Tonight. Now." "Yes, sir." "Get Josiah Reed out of his bed. Tell him I do not care if he is in his nightshirt. Tell him I will send a second horse behind you if he does not come. Tell him to bring his book of county seals and every deed transfer filed in this district from the year 1809 forward." "Yes, sir." "And Thomas." "Sir." "Do not tell any living soul on that road where you are coming from or why." "No, sir." "Go. The front door opened and shut, and a horse went down the drive at a pace Eleanor could hear through the walls. She lay back against the pillow. Her whole body shook. "Captain?" "Ma'am. I lied to you before. I know it. I am sorry." "Don't be sorry, ma'am. Be right from here on. That is all I am asking." "Yes, sir." "Rest." "I cannot rest." "You can. You will. Mrs. Mercer will see to it." "Captain?" "Ma'am. If he comes here before Thursday." "He will not." "If he does." "Ma'am, he will not come here before Thursday because he believes you are dead, and a man who has just killed his wife does not rush his next social call." She made a sound that was almost a laugh, and it broke in half before it got out. "You are a hard man, Captain Ashford." "I have been called worse, ma'am, and by better people." He rose. He stopped at the door. "Mrs. Hale?" "Yes, sir." "One more question, and then I will not trouble you until morning." "All right. Why did he hit you tonight, and not yesterday, and not a month ago?" Eleanor closed her eyes. "Because yesterday he found out there is a clause in my father's will that says if I die without signing the land over of my own free hand, the land does not go to him. It goes to the county." "To the county?" "My father did not trust him, Captain." "Your father was a smart man." "He was a cattle dealer, Captain. He was not a smart man. He was a stubborn one. But he loved me, and I am alive because of what he wrote in that will, and I would like to remain so." "You will remain so, ma'am." "Do not make a promise you cannot keep, sir." "I am not in the habit of it." He closed the door behind him. In the hallway, Mrs. Mercer caught his elbow. "Captain?" "Not now." "Captain, you listen to me." "Mrs. Mercer, I am listening to every soul in this county tonight. Be quick. That man is coming here on Thursday." "Yes." "And you are going to sit across a desk from him." "Yes." "And you are going to smile at him." "Yes." "Can you do that, Captain, knowing what you know?" Samuel Ashford was quiet for a moment. "I killed men in the war, Mrs. Mercer, who had done nothing worse than stand where I was told to stand. I can smile at Jonathan Hale for an hour." "All right, Captain. Go sit with her." "I am." "And Mrs. Mercer?" "Sir." "Do not let her get out of that bed, not for any reason, not if the house is on fire. You hear?" "I hear, Captain." "She will try. I know she will. She is the kind that will. I have known that about her for half an hour, Captain. Go to bed." "I will not sleep." "I did not tell you to sleep. I told you to go to bed." He almost smiled. He did not quite get there. He went down the hall. In the back bedroom, Eleanor lay very still and listened to the house around her settle. She heard a clock somewhere. She heard the rain softer now. She heard Mrs. Mercer's chair creak as the older woman sat down beside the bed and took up some sewing she did not truly mean to finish. "Mrs. Mercer." "Yes, child." "Is he a good man?" "The captain." "Yes." Mrs. Mercer did not answer right away. That was how Eleanor knew the answer was going to be a true one, and not a pretty one. "He is a hard man, child. He done hard things in the war. He lost men under his command that he loved more than brothers. He come home, and he could not sleep in a house with other people in it for 2 years. He built that wing at the back of this place with his own hands because he could not stand the sound of footsteps above his head." "Oh." "He is not gentle, Eleanor." "I don't need gentle." "I know it. I figured as much. I need true." "Then you are in the right house." "Mrs. Mercer." "Yes, child." "If my husband comes here on Thursday." "Yes." "And the captain says the wrong thing." "He will not." "But if he does." "Eleanor." "Yes." "You listen to me now. On Thursday morning, you are going to be sitting up in that bed with a brush in your hair and your spine straight as a pine board, and if one word goes wrong in that study downstairs, you and me are going to walk down those stairs together. You hear me? Together, you on my arm, past the parlor, into that room. And you are going to stand in front of Jonathan Hale with your own 2 eyes in your own face, and you are going to let him see what a ditch did not finish. Eleanor was crying again. She did not know when she had started. Mrs. Mercer. Hush, child. Why are you helping me? Mrs. Mercer did not look up from her sewing. Because the last girl who came through this house on a stretcher did not live till mornin', Eleanor Hale, and I promised myself the next one would. Eleanor did not answer. She lay there, in the long dark. Down the hall, a lamp burned in the study, where Samuel Ashford did not sleep. Up the road, Thomas was riding a good horse hard toward Albany, and an attorney who would curse him at the door, and then get dressed. And miles west in a farmhouse kitchen, with his boots up on another man's table. Jonathan Hale was pouring himself a second glass of whiskey, and telling a neighbor in a voice gone hoarse with performed grief that his poor dear wife had taken a fever of the nerves and run from their carriage in the storm, and that he feared God forgive him. He feared she was gone. The neighbor nodded. The neighbor would nod all week. Because Jonathan Hale was a good talker and a widower commanded sympathy, and nobody in the county yet knew that 3 days from now, on Thursday morning in the study of Ashford House, the widow he had manufactured was going to walk in on her own 2 feet and set his whole kingdom on fire. Thursday came, the way bad weather comes steady and certain. Eleanor was awake before the first light. She heard Mrs. Mercer moving in the kitchen below. She heard Thomas bring a horse around. She heard somewhere past the hedge a rooster do what roosters do, and it sounded like an accusation. Mrs. Mercer came in with a cup of broth and a clean dress folded over her arm. Sit up, child. I am sitting up. Sit up straighter. Mrs. Mercer? Straighter, Eleanor. Pine board, I told you. I am trying. I know you are. Drink this. I cannot. You can, and you will. A woman cannot walk into that study on air. I am not walking into that study. You said last night you would. I said last night a lot of things, Mrs. Mercer. And you meant every one of them. Drink. Eleanor drank. Her hands shook so hard that Mrs. Mercer had to hold the cup for her. Neither of them remarked on it. Downstairs, a door opened and closed. Boots crossed the hall. A second set followed. Who is that? The lawyer. And Mr. Penn, the clerk. They come in the dark. Thomas is back. Thomas is back. He rode 2 horses lame doing it, and the captain will hear about the second one later, but Thomas is back. And my husband. Expected at 10. What time is it now? 8:30. Eleanor closed her eyes. Eleanor. Yes, ma'am. Look at me. She looked. You are not his wife this morning. You are a witness. You say that to yourself 20 times before 10 o'clock. You hear me? You are a witness. I am a witness. Again. I am a witness. Again and mean it. I am a witness, Mrs. Mercer. That is right. Downstairs in the study, Samuel Ashford sat behind his father's desk and looked across it at a short, wiry man with ink-stained fingers and the stubbled chin of somebody who had not yet been home. Josiah. Samuel, you look like hell. I rode through it to get here. Don't start. Coffee. I have had 3. Have a 4th. I will have a 4th when this is done. Tell me again. Slow. Samuel told him again. Slow. Josiah Reed listened without writing a thing down, because Josiah Reed did not write things down in front of other people when the things being said could hang a man. The wife is upstairs. Yes. Alive. For now. Walkin'. Not well, but walkin'. And she will say all this in front of him. She will. And you believe her. Josiah, I have seen her leg. That is not an answer, Samuel. I believe her. All right. Is that enough for you? It is enough for me to do what you asked me to do. Whether it is enough for a court is another matter, and you and I both know that. I know it. Mr. Penn has looked at the deeds. A second voice, older, drier. I have looked at the deeds, sir. And page 3 of the conveyance is written in a hand that does not match page 2. And page 2 is the hand of the late Mr. Whitmore. which I know because I have recorded 4 other instruments signed by him over the past 11 years. You will swear to it. I will swear to it, sir, if I am asked. Would you be asked in a county court? In this county, sir, whether I would be asked depends on which judge hears it. Judge Bennett is a fair man. Judge Bennett is a fair man most days. Jonathan Hale has sat at Judge Bennett's table. I know he has. Then you know what I am telling you. Samuel rubbed his jaw. Josiah. Samuel, what I am about to do this morning. Yes, if I do it wrong. You will do it wrong. There is no doing it right. There is only doing it well enough that he cannot do it back to you. That is a comfort. It is not meant to be one. At 10 minutes before the hour, a wagon came up the drive. Mrs. Mercer heard it first. She stood at Eleanor's bedroom window, with one hand pressed flat against the frame. He's here. Eleanor did not look up from her own hands. Eleanor? I heard you. Are you ready? No, ma'am. Then pretend. The front bell rang. The front door opened. A man's voice, warm and carrying, filled the hall. Captain Ashford, I presume. Forgive me. I am early. Mr. Hale. You are kind to receive me at all, sir. I am not fit company these days. I am sorry for your loss, Mr. Hale. Thank you, Captain. Thank you. It is a hard thing. A hard thing. Upstairs, Eleanor's hands closed on the edge of the blanket and did not let go. Mrs. Mercer. Yes, child. That is his voice. I know it is. That is how he talked to Pastor Mullins at the wedding. I know, darlin'. He is doing the same voice. I know. Downstairs, Jonathan Hale was being shown into the study. Samuel Ashford stood as he entered, which was manners, and held out a hand which was also manners, and neither of them meant any of it. Sit, Mr. Hale. Thank you, Captain. May I offer you anything? A little water, if you would be so kind. My throat has been poor since the night of it. Of course. Jonathan Hale sat. He was a handsome man, and he knew it, and he used it the way another man uses a good rifle. He had dressed in black. He had a black band on his sleeve. His eyes, when they lifted to Samuel's, were appropriately damp. I will not take much of your time, Captain. Take what you need. You are a gentleman, sir. I am a landowner, Mr. Hale. Let us not flatter each other this morning. Jonathan smiled. The smile did not touch the rest of his face. As you wish. You said in your letter you had a matter of the river. I do. I will come to it directly. But first, Captain, I must forgive me. I must say the thing before I can talk of anything else. Say it. My wife, sir. My Eleanor. Yes. She is... I fear she is lost. Lost. Taken by the storm. On the post road. Her nerves had been poor for some months. She rose from the carriage and... Rose from the carriage. Yes, Captain. In the rain. She was unwell, Captain. I do not claim to understand it. The mind of a woman in distress is not a thing a husband can always... Mr. Hale. Yes. How long had you been married? 14 months, Captain. And before that you were... A shipping man, Captain. Modest affairs. Honest ones. And she brought to the marriage... A small inheritance, sir. Not worth speaking of today. I would like to speak of it today. Jonathan's eyes did a small thing. Not quite a flinch. Something smaller. Something only a man who was looking for it would catch. Of course, Captain, if it is of use to you. I have been asked by the county to review any unfiled deeds in the eastern townships before the fall sessions. It is a tedious piece of work that has fallen to me because nobody else will do it. Your wife's inheritance touches the river. It does, Captain. I brought the papers, in fact. I thought it would save us both a trip. You are very thoughtful. I try, sir. Let me see them. Jonathan reached into his coat and produced the leather satchel. Samuel's face did not change. He had been looking at that satchel in his mind for 3 days. He had seen it in the ditch in the rain in his imagining of it 100 times. Thank you, Mr. Hale. My pleasure. Samuel opened the satchel. He did not hurry. He laid the pages out on the desk one by one, the way a dealer lays out cards. He did not look up. He did not speak. He let Jonathan Hale sit across from him in the silence of a man who has just given away a weapon and is beginning to wonder if he should have. "Captain." "A moment, Mr. Hale." "Of course." "Mr. Penn." From the corner of the room, the older man's voice. "Sir." "Would you step in?" "I am here, Captain." Jonathan Hale turned his head, and for the first time that morning, something in his composure came loose. He had not noticed the other man. The other man had been sitting there the whole time. "Captain, I was not told we would have company. Mr. Penn is the clerk of this district, Mr. Hale. I consult him on all matters of title. It is my habit. I thought you would approve." Of course." "Mr. Penn." "Captain, would you be so good as to examine page 3? "I have examined page 3, Captain." "And your conclusion?" "That page 3, Captain, is not written in the hand of the late Mr. Whitmore." "Whose hand is it written in?" "I could not say with certainty, sir. I can say with certainty whose hand it is not." The room had gone very quiet. Jonathan Hale's jaw worked once. "Captain Ashford." "Yes, Mr. Hale." "I do not know what you are suggesting." "I am not suggesting anything yet, Mr. Hale." "Then what in God's name is this?" "This is a review of unfiled deeds in the eastern townships, Mr. Hale, as I said." "This is not a review." "It is a review, sir, until I say it is something else." "And when will you say that?" "When your wife walks through that door." The silence that came down then was not like any silence Jonathan Hale had ever sat in. It was the silence of a wrong door opening in a dream. "My wife." "Yes, Mr. Hale." "My wife is dead, Captain." "Is she?" You have no right to." "Mr. Hale, I am going to ask you to sit back down in that chair." "I am leaving, sir." "You are not leaving. I will not be accused in a stranger's parlor." "Mr. Hale, the door behind you is closed. Thomas is on the other side of it. Thomas is a very large man who was in the artillery and has been told this morning to stop any person who tries to leave this room without my permission. Please, sit down." Jonathan sat. His face had gone a bad color. "This is an outrage." "Yes, sir, I expect it is." Then upstairs a door opened and a board creaked in the upper hall, and a woman's slow, uneven footsteps began to come down the stairs. Jonathan Hale heard it before anyone in the room had to tell him. His whole body went still, the way a deer's body goes still. "No." "Mr. Hale." "No, that is—" "Mr. Hale, sit down." "That is not—" The study door opened. Eleanor Whitmore Hale stood in the doorway with one hand on Mrs. Mercer's arm and the other on the frame of the door, and her dress was plain, and her hair was braided, and the bruise down the side of her face was the color of a storm. She did not look at her husband right away. She looked at Samuel. "Captain." "Mrs. Hale." "Am I interrupting?" "No, ma'am. You are exactly on time." She turned her head, then slowly the way a person turns their head to look at a snake, and she looked at Jonathan Hale. "Hello, Jonathan." He did not answer. His mouth opened. No sound came. "You look pale, husband." "Eleanor." "Yes?" "Eleanor, my God." "Do not say God's name in a room where you are about to tell another lie, Jonathan. It goes badly for men who do." "Eleanor, you thought I was dead." I feared." "You feared nothing, Jonathan. You hoped. Let us at least be honest about that in this room with these gentlemen who have come a long way to hear the truth." "Captain Ashford?" Jonathan's voice had found itself again, and with it his ugliness. "Captain Ashford, this woman is my wife. You are harboring my wife. You have no right." "Mr. Hale." "A husband has the right under God and under law to—" "Mr. Hale." "To the custody of his own wife, sir, and I will not stand." "Mr. Hale, if you finish that sentence in this house, I will put you through that window myself and answer to the judge after." "You threaten me, sir." "I do not threaten you. I am telling you what will happen." "Captain, this is—" "Jonathan, Eleanor's voice cut clean across his. "Jonathan, look at me." He looked at her. "You beat me with the handle of a whip on the post road south of Coeymans. You took a satchel of my father's papers off the seat of a wagon and drove it to this house and laid it on this desk. The papers you laid on this desk are not the papers my father wrote. Page 3 is in your hand. The seal on page 5 is pressed from a die that is not the die of the county recorder. I watched my father use the county die 14 times in my life, Jonathan. I know what it looks like. I know what yours looks like because I saw it in the drawer of your own desk the week before we married. Eleanor, you are unwell. I am not unwell. You are in shock, you are. I am not in shock. Gentlemen, she has been through a great... Mr. Hale. Josiah Reed's voice for the first time from the corner. I am Josiah Reed, attorney of Albany. I am going to ask you to stop talking over your wife. Sir. Mr. Hale, I am going to ask it twice, and I am not going to ask it a third time. Jonathan Hale turned his head toward Reed. His eyes were a different color than they had been 10 minutes before. They had gone small and dark and alive. Reed. Mr. Hale. You are a long way from Albany. I am. It was a bad ride. You came on the word of this man. I came on the word of that woman, Mr. Hale, your husband, forgive me, your wife, who has told me this morning in writin', signed by her own hand, that you did what she just said you did. And I will tell you plain, Mr. Hale, so there is no confusion in this room. I am not here to make an arrest. I am not a sheriff. I am here to witness. To witness what? To witness that on the morning of the 3rd of August in the year 1816 in the county of Greene, in the house of Samuel Ashford, Mrs. Eleanor Hale, still livin', presented herself as the lawful heir of Elias Whitmore, and as the wife of one Jonathan Hale, and declared the instruments you have laid on this desk to be in part forgeries. That is her word. That is her word, Mr. Hale, sworn, and written, and held against your word, Mr. Hale, which is that she is dead. I never said, Mr. Hale, you said it in Coeymans on Monday to a tavern keeper named Peel. You said it in Catskill on Tuesday to the widow Anson. You said it yesterday to a deacon of the Reformed Church in Athens. I have the names. I have the days. I rode through every one of those towns in the last 36 hours. Mr. Hale, and every single one of them, will tell the same story, which is that the wife you are now claimin' has simply suffered a nervous episode, is the wife you spent this week burying in the mouths of other people. The room went quiet again. Eleanor had not moved from the doorway. She let the silence hold. Then she said very softly, Jonathan. Eleanor. Did you think I would not speak? He did not answer. Did you truly think, Jonathan, that if I lived, I would be too ashamed to speak? Still he did not answer. That is where you were wrong, husband. That is the one thing you did not count. You counted the rain. You counted the road. You counted my leg and my blood and the cold. And you were right about all of it. I should have died. By every measure of that night I should have died. But you did not count that I had a father, Jonathan. And my father told me once when I was 8 years old that a woman who lets a liar tell her story for her has already climbed into her own grave. And I have been thinking about that sentence, Jonathan, for 3 days. And I have decided today in this room in front of these gentlemen that I am not climbing in. Jonathan Hale rose from his chair. I am leaving this house. Sit down, Mr. Hale. I will not. Thomas. The study door opened an inch. Thomas's shoulder showed in the gap, and Thomas's shoulder was enough. Jonathan Hale sat down. He looked at Samuel Ashford across the desk. He had stopped performing. Whatever was in his face now was the thing that had been under the other face the whole time, and it was not a good thing to look at. Ashford. Mr. Hale, you will regret this morning. I expect I will regret a great many mornings before I am done, Mr. Hale. This one will not be near the top of the list. You think you have me. I think I have enough of you to keep you in this county until a judge can have the rest. You have a bruised woman and a forged page. I have a bruised woman, Mr. Hale, and a forged page, and a tavern keeper, and a widow, and a deacon, and a county clerk, and an attorney of record, and the original will of Elias Whitmore, which I have sent a writer to retrieve from the courthouse at Catskill, as we have been speaking, and which will be on this desk before sundown, and which contains, I am told, a clause that your wife has been good enough to describe to me in advance." Jonathan's face went the last color it had left to go. "You sent for the will." "I sent for the will, Mr. Hale, on Tuesday night." "Tuesday." "Tuesday, Mr. Hale. The same night my driver found your wife in a ditch on the post road, bleedin' through a wool dress you had paid for." Jonathan Hale looked at Eleanor then. For the first time that morning, he looked at her as a person, and not as an obstacle. And Eleanor, still leaning on Mrs. Mercer's arm in the doorway, did not look away. "Eleanor." "Yes, Jonathan." "You will not win this." "I do not need to win, Jonathan." "You think you do." "No. I need only to be heard, and I have been." Mrs. Mercer tightened her grip on Eleanor's arm, because Eleanor's knees had begun very slightly to shake. Nobody else in the room saw it. Mrs. Mercer saw it and said nothing. "Captain Ashford." "Mrs. Hale." "I would like to sit down, if it is not too much trouble." "Mrs. Mercer, the chair by the window, bring it." "Yes, Captain." And so Eleanor Whitmore Hale, in her plain dress and her braided hair and her bruise the color of a storm, was helped into a chair 6 feet from the husband who had left her for dead, and she sat there with her hands folded in her lap, and she did not shake again, and she did not cry, and she did not speak until spoken to. She simply sat. And being seated was in that house on that morning the loudest thing anyone had done in a long, long time. The will came at 4:05 that afternoon, folded in oilcloth, tied in string, carried by a boy on a winded horse. Thomas brought it into the study, still warm from the boy's coat. "Captain, give it here." The rider said the clerk in Catskill asked twice whether he should be given this up. And he gave it up, Captain, once I gave him your name." "Thank you, Thomas." "Captain?" "Yes." "The man in the parlor. What about him?" "He has been asking for water every 10 minutes. "Let him ask." "Yes, sir." Samuel cut the string. Josiah Reed was already on his feet, leaning across the desk, and Mr. Penn, who had not eaten since the night before, set his cup aside and came to stand at Samuel's shoulder. "Third page, Captain." "I see it. Read it aloud. In the event that my daughter Eleanor Whitmore shall predecease her lawful heirs, or shall be found to have conveyed any portion of the aforesaid river parcel during her lifetime by any instrument not signed in her own hand, in the presence of 2 witnesses known to this testator's estate, then the said parcel shall revert whole and undivided to the public use of the county of Greene, to be administered for the benefit of the widows and orphans of the late war." Nobody spoke for a moment. Then Josiah Reed laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of a tired man who has just seen a card come up that he had stopped hoping for. "Samuel." "Yes, Josiah." "You understand what that is." "I understand exactly what that is." "That is not only a forgery charge. That is motive spelled out in her father's own hand for why a man might try to put his wife in a ditch before she could die without signin'. I understand it. That is a hanging paper, Samuel. I know it." Upstairs, Mrs. Mercer was changing the dressing on Eleanor's leg. Eleanor sat with her teeth set and her eyes on the window and did not make a sound. "Eleanor." "Yes, ma'am." "You did a thing this morning." "I know I did." "You have not said 2 words since." "I have not had 2 words, Mrs. Mercer." "That is all right." "Is he still in the house?" "In the front parlor, under Thomas's eye." "He has not been arrested?" "No, child." "Why not?" Mrs. Mercer was quiet a moment, tying off the bandage. "Because, darlin', in this county, a man is not arrested until the sheriff arrives to arrest him, and the sheriff has been on a tax circuit in the southern townships for 11 days and will not be back till Monday. And it was decided downstairs after you come up here that rather than turn your husband over to a deputy who drinks with him on market days, the captain would hold him in this house under his own roof until the proper men could be sent for." "Hold him! Hold him!" "Mrs. Mercer, he is in the parlor of this house." "He is." "Drinking water." "Every 10 minutes." Eleanor laughed. It was a bad sound. My husband is under my rescuer's roof drinking water and waiting to be arrested. Yes, child. That is the strangest sentence I have ever heard spoken. This has been a strange week. Downstairs in the parlor, Jonathan Hale was doing what a man of his particular gifts does when the walls have closed in on him. He was beginning very slowly to rebuild. Thomas stood in the doorway with his arms folded and said nothing. Thomas. Mr. Hale. That is your name, is it? It is. Thomas, I will speak plain with you. I'd rather you didn't, sir. I am a man of some means. Yes, sir. And a man of some means in a situation such as this is willing to be generous. Mr. Hale? Thomas, hear me out. Mr. Hale, the captain pays me a fair wage, and he pulled my brother out of the river at Sackett's Harbor in the year 15. There is no amount of money you could put on this table that would buy my back turnin'. Please do not try. It is a waste of your breath, and you are going to need all the breath you got left. Jonathan sat back. He looked at Thomas a long moment. You are a loyal dog. I am a loyal man, sir. A dog does not know why he bites. I do. It was around 5:30 that the second horse came up the drive. Mrs. Mercer heard it first. She always heard things first. Eleanor. What is it? Somebody else is arrivin'. Who? I do not know. The captain was not expectin' another rider. Mrs. Mercer. Stay in this bed, child. Mrs. Mercer, who is that? Stay. In this bed. Mrs. Mercer went to the landing. From the landing, she could see the front hall. From the front hall, she heard a voice she had not heard in 9 years. And when she heard it, she put one hand against the wall and did not move for a count of 3. Then she came back down the hall to Eleanor's bedroom and shut the door behind her. Eleanor. Who is it? Child, do not be afraid. Mrs. Mercer. Who? It is the boy's brother. Whose boy? Your husband's. Eleanor stared at her. Jonathan has a brother. Jonathan has a brother, child, and that is the brother, and he is downstairs, and he is asking after you by name, and he is not asking it the way Jonathan asks it. I do not understand. I will tell you what I know in half a minute. His name is Caleb. He is the younger. He quarreled with Jonathan 5 years ago over a horse and a debt and a piece of land on the river, and he has not spoken his brother's name in polite company since. He is a riverman, moves freight between Athens and Albany. He is not a gentleman by the county's measure, but he is an honest one. And he is here. He is here. Why? That child is what the captain is about to find out. In the study, Samuel Ashford rose to meet the newcomer. Mr. Hale. Captain Ashford, sir, forgive me. I have come uninvited. I am standin' in uninvited company this week. One more is no trouble. Sir, I hear my brother is in this house. He is. And I hear my brother's wife is also in this house. She is. And I hear Captain forgive the plainness that she was found on the South Road with her skull cracked. Where did you hear that? At the tavern in Athens, sir, this morning. A deacon told it to a boatman. The boatman told it to a toll-keeper. The toll-keeper told it to me. By dinner time it will be in every public house between here and Hudson. Your brother has been industrious. My brother, Captain Ashford, has been my brother for 38 years, and I know exactly how industrious he is. I have come to tell you 3 things if you will hear them. I will hear them. The first thing, Captain, is that the die your clerk told you about, the county seal die, the false one. Yes. I have seen it. Samuel did not move. Say that again, Mr. Hale. I have seen it, Captain. I have held it. It is in a locked drawer in the bottom of his writing desk at the farmhouse on the left side under a false board, and the board lifts if you put a knife in the knot on the near side. He showed it to me 3 years ago when he was drunk and wanted me to be proud of him. I was not proud of him. I rode home that night and did not speak to him again until this afternoon when I heard my sister-in-law's name in a tavern. Mr. Hale, do you know what you are saying? I know exactly what I am saying, Captain. I am saying that my brother is a forger, and I have waited 5 years to say it out loud, and I would like, for the first time I say it out loud, to be in a room where it will cost him something and not me. You will swear to it. I will swear to it. I will ride to Albany with your Mr. Reed tonight and put my hand on a Bible in front of any judge you name. Mr. Hale. Captain, what is the second thing? The second thing, Captain, is that on the night of the storm, my brother came through Athens at 1:15 in the morning alone on the wagon without his wife. He stopped at a livery to change a lame horse. The boy at the livery is my wife's cousin. He told me this morning, and he will tell it again to anyone who asks, that my brother's sleeves were wet to the elbow with something he did not want to explain, and that he tipped the boy with a silver dollar and told him not to remember that he had seen him. Samuel sat down. Mr. Hale? Captain? And the third thing? Caleb Hale hesitated for the first time. The third thing, Captain, is that my brother's first wife, Mary Hale, who died in Coemans in the summer of 1814. Yes. She did not die of fever, Captain. Mr. Hale. She did not die of fever. She drowned in 2 feet of water in a creek behind his house at night with a bruise across the back of her head the size of a man's fist, and the doctor who wrote her death certificate was paid $80 that same month to make a bad debt of my brother's disappear. I have not said this to a living soul in 2 years, Captain. I am saying it now. I am saying it because I am looking at the ceiling of this house, and there is a woman upstairs who was luckier than Mary was, and I do not intend for her to become less lucky. The study was very quiet. Samuel Ashford put both his hands flat on the desk. Mr. Reed. I am here, Captain. Did you hear all of that? I heard all of it, Captain. Write it down. I am writing it down. Mr. Hale. Captain. Your brother is in the front parlor of this house. I assumed he would be. Would you like to see him? No, Captain, I would not. Good, Thomas. Thomas appeared in the study door. Sir, do not permit Mr. Jonathan Hale to see his brother has arrived. Not by sound, not by glimpse. Seat him with his back to the hall. Yes, Captain. And Thomas. Sir, send a boy for Judge Bennett. Tonight. Not Monday. Tonight. I do not care if the man is at his supper. Tell him Samuel Ashford has a matter that cannot wait on the sheriff's circuit, and tell him that Josiah Reed of Albany will co-sign any warrant he cares to issue. Yes, Captain. Upstairs, Eleanor was out of bed. Mrs. Mercer? Child, I told you. I am not walking far. I am walking to that chair by the door. Help me, or do not help me, but do not argue with me. Lord have mercy. Please. Mrs. Mercer helped her. Eleanor sat in the chair. She listened. She could not hear words. She could hear voices. She could hear Samuel's voice, low and level. She could hear a second voice, younger, urgent. Mrs. Mercer. Yes, child. That is a Hale voice. It is. It sounds like him. It is his brother, child. I told you. The brother is helping us. It sounds that way. Why? I do not know yet, child. Eleanor closed her eyes. Mrs. Mercer. I need to tell you something I have not told anyone. All right, child. When Jonathan came to court my father 2 summers ago, my father did not like him. I had a feeling. My father said to me, Ellie girl, that man has already buried one woman, and I do not believe he buried her clean. I asked him what he meant. He would not say. He said only that it was talk from upriver, and that talk was not proof. Your father was a good man. My father died in October, Mrs. Mercer. Jonathan came to the funeral. Jonathan stood at the grave. Jonathan held my hand. Jonathan was at our kitchen table inside of a month. Jonathan said he could help me with my father's books. Jonathan said he could help me with the tenants. Jonathan said a great many things. And in February, in a Methodist church in Catskill, with 2 of his friends as witnesses, and no one of my own blood in the pews, I married him. Child. I knew, Mrs. Mercer. You did not. I knew. Not about the first wife, not about the die. I knew that I did not love him. I knew that he frightened me. I knew that the way he looked at me was not the way my father had looked at me, and I knew that that mattered. And I married him anyway because I was 23 years old, and alone in a big house, and I was tired of being alone in a big house. I am paying for that now, Mrs. Mercer. I am paying for my own tiredness. Eleanor Hale, you listen to me. Yes, ma'am. You did not earn this with tiredness. You did not earn this by marrying a man you should not have married. A woman does not earn a beaten child. A woman does not earn a ditch. There is not a sin on this earth that earns a ditch. You hear me? I hear you. Then stop talking like that. Yes, ma'am. Downstairs, the arrest, when it came, was smaller than Eleanor had imagined it. She had imagined shouting. She had imagined running. She had imagined the bay horses put to the wagon and a rifle fired into the air. It was not like that. It was two men in the front parlor, Samuel Ashford and Caleb Hale, and Jonathan Hale turning his head to say something to Thomas about the water and seeing for the first time in 5 years his own brother's face in the doorway of the room. Caleb, Jonathan? What are you doing here? I came to tell these gentlemen about the die. Jonathan Hale stood up. He did not speak. He walked 2 steps toward his brother. Thomas stepped between them and Jonathan stopped. Caleb, brother, you will not do this. I am doing it, Jonathan. Not over a woman. Not over a woman. Over 2. Jonathan looked at him. Then, in a voice Eleanor Hale would remember for the rest of her life, because she heard it faint and terrible through the floorboards of her borrowed bedroom, Jonathan Hale said very softly, "You bastard." "Yes," said his brother. "I expect I am." Judge Bennett arrived at 9 that night in a plain coat and an older man's bad temper. He did not ask for coffee. He did not ask for an introduction. He sat down in Samuel Ashford's study. He read the 3 papers laid in front of him. He heard the 4 sentences spoken by Mr. Penn and the 8 sentences spoken by Josiah Reed and the 2 sentences spoken by Caleb Hale, and he signed a warrant with the stub of a pencil he kept in a tin box in his breast pocket. Captain? Judge, I have known that man's family 30 years. I know you have. I have drunk his father's whiskey. I know. Do not think this is a pleasure to me, Samuel. I have never thought any part of this was a pleasure to any of us, sir. The wife. Upstairs. She will testify. She will. In open court. In open court, sir. God help her. God help all of us, Judge. Bennett signed. When the deputies came to take Jonathan Hale out of the house, he did not fight. He did not speak. He walked between the 2 men with his coat over his arm and his mouth a thin line, and at the front door he stopped and turned his head and looked up the staircase as if he could see through the ceiling to the room where his wife was sitting. He did not see her, but she saw him. Eleanor had made Mrs. Mercer bring her out onto the landing. Mrs. Mercer had argued. Eleanor had not argued back. She had only stood up, and Mrs. Mercer had sighed the long sigh of a woman who has lost a fight she knew from the start she would lose. From the landing with her hand on the banister and her weight on her good leg, Eleanor Whitmore Hale watched her husband be taken out of a house for the last time. He did not see her. He would spend the ride to the county jail believing she had not come down to watch. He would be wrong about that too. When the door closed behind him, Eleanor sat down on the top step of the stairs very slowly, and she put her face in her hands. She did not cry. She did not move. She stayed that way a long time. Samuel Ashford came to the bottom of the stairs. He did not come up. He stood at the base and looked up at her with his hands at his sides and his coat off and his sleeves still rolled, and he said very quietly, "Mrs. Hale." "Captain." "Is there anything you require?" "No, sir." "Mrs. Mercer can bring you." "Captain." "Ma'am." "Would you come sit with me a moment?" He came up the stairs. He sat on the step below her, a careful distance, and he did not look at her, and she did not look at him. They sat that way without speaking for what might have been a minute and might have been an hour. Then Eleanor said, "It is not over." "No, ma'am. The trial will be worse than today." "It may be. The town will not believe me. Some of them will not. They will say I ran off with you. They will say many things, Mrs. Hale, and you will not deny them. I will deny what is false. I will not chase every tongue in the county. It cannot be done." "I know it cannot." "Ma'am?" "Yes." "You were brave today." "Brave." She did not answer him. She could not. Because for the first time since the mud, since the whip handle on her temple in the rain, something in her chest had come loose, and if she opened her mouth, it was going to come out as a sound. She could not afford yet. Not in this house, not on this staircase, not with Mrs. Mercer watching from the hall below, and Thomas locking doors, and a judge's horse still on the drive. So she put her hand on Samuel Ashford's shoulder instead. Just the once, just for a moment. And he understood. And he did not speak. And outside in the dark, the wagon that carried Jonathan Hale went down the drive and onto the post road toward a jail and a courthouse and a reckoning that was only just beginning, while upstairs in a house that was not hers and a life that was not yet hers either. Eleanor Whitmore Hale breathed in and breathed out and kept her hand on a stranger's shoulder and did not let herself weep. The trial opened in Catskill on the 4th Tuesday of September, and the courthouse was so full that men stood 3 deep against the back wall, and a farmer from Coeymans had to give up his seat because he had brought his dog. Eleanor walked in on Mrs. Mercer's arm. She had asked Samuel to stay in the back of the room. "Ma'am?" "Captain." "You will want somebody near you." "I will have Mrs. Mercer near me." "Mrs. Hale." "Captain Ashford, if you sit behind me, every woman in this county will say I came to court on your coat. I will not give them that, not 1 inch of it." "All right. Thank you, sir." "Eleanor." It was the first time he had used her given name. "Yes, Samuel." "Be right. Be plain. And do not let him make you small." "I will not." Jonathan Hale came into the courtroom in leg irons and a clean shirt. He had been given a lawyer from Hudson, a man named Crane, who was known in 3 counties for getting bad men home to dinner. Crane had already told the papers his client was the victim of a conspiracy by an embittered wife and an opportunistic brother, and some of the papers had printed it. Eleanor saw Jonathan first across the room. She did not look away. He had wanted her to look away. She knew it because he looked at her the way a man looks at a dog he expects to cower. And when she did not cower, something in his face tightened, and he turned his head, and that was the first thing she won that day. All rise. Hear ye. Greene County Court of Oyer and Terminer, the Honorable Elias Bennett presiding. Be seated. Bennett did not waste time. "Mr. Crane, you have a motion." "I do, Your Honor." "The defense moves that the testimony of Mrs. Hale be excluded on the grounds that a wife may not testify against her husband in this Commonwealth." "Mr. Reed." "Your Honor, the Commonwealth notes that the instrument in question is a forgery against the estate of Elias Whitmore, deceased, of which Mrs. Hale is the sole heir, and that a wife is not barred from testifying to a crime committed against the property she holds separate of her husband under her father's will. Further, Your Honor, the Commonwealth notes that Mrs. Hale is by her husband's own public statements, made across 3 townships in the week of August, the first a deceased person. A dead woman has no husband. If Mr. Hale wishes to claim spousal privilege, he may first withdraw his widowerhood. He cannot have it both ways. The gallery made a sound, a low, scattered sound. It was the sound of a crowd deciding it liked a joke. Bennett did not smile, but his eyes did. "Motion denied. Mrs. Hale." "Your Honor." "Step up." She stepped up. She had practiced walking for 3 weeks. She still did not walk well. She walked anyway. "State your name for the record." "Eleanor Whitmore Hale, Your Honor, and your residence, or, presently, the home of Captain Samuel Ashford of Greene County. Prior to my marriage, the Whitmore farm on the post road south of Coeymans." "You understand you are under oath." "I understand." "Proceed, Mr. Reed." Josiah Reed did not waste a question. "Mrs. Hale, on the night of the 2nd of August, 1816, where were you at midnight?" "In a ditch on the post road, Your Honor." "Sorry. Mr. Reed?" "Why were you in the ditch, Mrs. Hale?" "My husband put me there." "In what manner?" "He struck me with the handle of a riding whip until I could not stand. He pulled me from our wagon. He demanded that I sign a paper transferring my father's land to him. I refused. He struck me again. He left me in the ditch. He took the papers. He drove the wagon away." "How long did you lie in the ditch, Mrs. Hale?" "I do not know, sir. Long enough to believe I was going to die there." The gallery made no sound now. The gallery was not breathing. "What saved you?" "Captain Samuel Ashford, Mr. Reed. His coach come up the road from Albany. He stopped. He got down. He carried me to his house." "You had never met Captain Ashford before that night?" "I had not." "You had never been a guest in his home?" "No, sir." "You are not now, nor have you ever been in a romantic or improper attachment to Captain Ashford?" "No, sir. I am a married woman." "Mr. Reed, though my marriage has not been much of a marriage, and the man who gave it to me has not been much of a man." The gallery broke. It could not help itself. It laughed for one sharp second and caught itself and went quiet. Crane was on his feet. "Your Honor." "Sit down, Mr. Crane." "Your Honor, the witness is making speeches." "The witness is answering the question asked. Sit down." Crane sat down. Reed went through it all. He went through the post road. He went through Ashford House. He went through the satchel on the desk. He went through page 3 of the deeds. He went through the seal. He went through Caleb Hale's statement about the die. He went through the livery boy in Athens, and the tavern keeper in Coeymans, and the widow Anson in Catskill, and each of them had already spoken that morning under oath, and their words sat in the record like nails driven straight. Then Crane rose to cross-examine. He was good at what he did. He had been doing it a long time. "Mrs. Hale." "Mr. Crane." "You have described yourself as a woman of clear mind." "I have." "And yet you admit that on the night in question you sustained a blow to the temple." "I did." "A blow severe enough, you testified earlier, to cause you to lose consciousness." "Partly, yes." "Partly." "I was not fully gone. I was not fully there." "Then tell the court, Mrs. Hale, how you can be certain of anything you say you remember." "Because, Mr. Crane, I remember it." "That is not an answer, Mrs. Hale." "It is the only answer there is, sir. A woman who has been beaten with a whip handle does not forget the man who was holding the handle. A woman who has been pulled out of a wagon does not forget which man's hands were on her collar. You may ask me to misremember the color of the rain, Mr. Crane. You may not ask me to misremember my own husband's face 6 inches from mine in the dark." Crane tried once more. "Mrs. Hale." "Mr. Crane, is it not possible that in your distress—" "No, sir. I have not finished my question. I do not need you to, sir. I know the shape of it. You are going to ask me whether a woman in my condition could have imagined, could have dreamed, could have blamed the wrong man in the panic of a bad night. I will save you the trouble. I did not imagine. I did not dream. I did not blame the wrong man. I was married to the right one for 14 months. Mr. Crane and I know exactly what his hands feel like, and I know exactly what his voice sounds like, and I know exactly what he says to a woman when he is ready to be done with her. You will not unseat me on this, sir. You will have to try something else." Crane sat down. He did not try something else. He had nothing else to try. The jury took 40 minutes. When they came back in, the foreman, a cooper from Athens named Vance, looked at Jonathan Hale and did not look away. That was how Eleanor knew before she was told. "On the charge of forgery in the first degree, how find you?" "Guilty, Your Honor." "On the charge of conspiracy to defraud an estate, how find you?" "Guilty." "On the charge of assault with intent to murder the person of Eleanor Whitmore Hale." "Guilty." The courtroom did not erupt. That was not the kind of county it was. The courtroom exhaled. Bennett let the exhale last a moment. "Mr. Hale." "Your Honor." "Stand." Jonathan stood. "Is there anything you wish to say before sentence is pronounced?" "Your Honor, I am innocent of these charges. I have been the victim of a woman's hysteria and a brother's old grudge and a stranger's ambition. I ask this court—" "Mr. Hale." "Your Honor, Mr. Hale, you had your chance to speak. You used it. Sit down." Jonathan sat. Bennett did not hurry. He did not raise his voice. "Mr. Hale, this court sentences you to 25 years of confinement at hard labor at the state facility at Auburn. You will surrender all real property and all chattel held in your name, or in the name of your late wife, Mary Hale, to the probate court of this county, pending further inquiry into the death of the aforesaid Mary Hale, which this court is reopening as of the hour. You will pay restitution to the estate of Elias Whitmore in the amount of $8,000. You will depart this courthouse in the custody of the marshal of this county. And you will never again, sir, in the remainder of whatever life is left to you, present yourself within 20 miles of Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore, the name she bore before you, and the name she bears again as of this afternoon by order of this court. The marriage contracted between you having been obtained on fraudulent representation, and being hereby annulled in its entirety. Eleanor put her hand over her mouth. She had not been told that part, neither had Jonathan. It was Jonathan's face that finally broke. Not at 25 years, not at Auburn. At the word annulled. At having her name taken out of his name. At losing in a sentence the one piece of her he had still been holding. No. Mr. Hale. No. Your Honor. You cannot. I have, sir. You cannot unmake a marriage. Mr. Hale, I have unmade worse things before my breakfast. Sit down. They took him out through the side door. Eleanor watched him go. He did not turn his head. He did not speak. He was a smaller man walking out than he had been walking in. That was the only thing about him in all that long afternoon that she found she could believe. Mrs. Mercer was at her elbow. Child. Yes, ma'am. You are shaken. I know I am. Sit down. I will sit down in the wagon, Mrs. Mercer. Sit down now. Mrs. Mercer, I will not sit down in this courtroom. I will walk out of this courtroom on my own 2 feet, and I will sit down in the wagon when I am outside of it. I have earned that. Yes, child. I have earned walking out. Yes, Eleanor. She walked out. The people in the gallery parted for her. Not one of them spoke. A few of the women, older women her mother's age, nodded to her as she passed. That was more than she had expected. Samuel Ashford was at the door. Mrs. Whitmore. Captain. Is that your name now? It is my name now, yes. It is a good name. It was my father's. It will do. He walked her to the wagon. He did not offer his arm until the last step, and she did not take it until she needed it. The winter that followed was long and slow. Samuel did not ask her anything for 4 months. This was the part Eleanor did not expect, and it was the part later that she thought about most. He did not court her. He did not hint. He did not leave flowers in hallways or linger at doorways. He gave her the back bedroom and the use of his father's library and the run of the East Wing and the services of Mrs. Mercer. And he went about his business of the estate, and he ate supper with her when she came down for it, and not when she did not. And he asked her once a week how her leg was, and he never once asked her what she was going to do next. In January, she began going to the study on her own. Captain. Eleanor. I would like to see my father's papers, the real ones, the ones you recovered from the probate. They are in that cabinet. Second drawer from the top. You have not looked at them. They are not mine to look at. You could have. I did not. Why? He considered her over the rim of his coffee. Because a man who makes himself the keeper of a woman's papers has already started making himself the keeper of her. She did not answer him for a moment. Samuel. Yes. You are an unusual man. I am a tired one, ma'am. The two look similar sometimes. She read the papers. She read them all. She read her father's hand, and her father's signature, and her father's small patient notes in the margins, and for the first time since the road, she cried, and she did not hide it, and Samuel did not come in. By March, she was taking meetings. Mrs. Mercer. Yes, child. There is a widow in Athens. There is more than one widow in Athens, Eleanor. There is a Mrs. Pettigrew. Her husband died at Plattsburgh. She has been farming a rented piece on the Catterskill, and they have raised her rent a second time this year. Yes. I am going to offer her a lease on the North 40 of the river parcel. At what terms? At the terms her husband would have got if her husband had lived. Mrs. Mercer was quiet. Eleanor. Yes? Your father would have been proud of you this morning. My father told me once that land a woman cannot feed somebody on is not land worth fighting for. Your father was correct. By May, she had leased 4 parcels, 3 to widows, 1 to a freedman named Boaz, who had been a sergeant at Sackett's Harbor, and who Samuel Ashford knew by name and trusted by nature. The county talked. Some of the talking was ugly. Some of it was not. She stopped caring which was which about the same time the apple trees came into bloom, which is to say she stopped caring on a Tuesday for no reason she could name, and she never much started again. In June, on a Sunday evening, Samuel Ashford knocked on the door of the back bedroom. "Eleanor? Come in." He came in. He was holding something in his hand. It was small. It was wrapped in a piece of soft leather. "Ma'am." "Captain?" "This is not a proposal. All right? I want you to understand that before I open my mouth further. I understand. I have been turning this over in my hand for 5 months, and I have not come up with a graceful way to say it, so I will say it plain if you will allow it." "I will allow it." He sat down, not near her, a chair's distance. "Eleanor." "Samuel. When I pulled you out of the ditch that night, I did not pull you out because you were a woman in trouble. I have pulled women out of trouble before. I did not pull you out of anything that night. I picked you up off the road, and I carried you to my house because something in me, ma'am, knew what I was looking at and would not let me drive by it. I do not know what that was. I have not had much luck naming it. I do not want to name it yet, in case naming it wrong is a way of losing it. All right. I do not want a wife who is grateful to me. Good. I do not want a wife who owes me. Good. I do not want a wife who is still carrying another man's name in the back of her own head. She is not. Then I will say this. Someday, if you want, I would be glad to be your husband, not your rescuer, not your keeper, not the man who stood between you and what was bad. Your husband, your partner at a table, your argument sometimes, your company in a house that is too large for one man and was always going to be. And if you do not want that, Eleanor, ever I will stand in your way about nothing. You have a house of your own now. You have land of your own. You have a name of your own. I will see you on market days, if you will let me see you on market days, and I will be glad of it, and I will not ask you for more. She looked at him for a long time. Samuel. Yes. What is in the leather? Your mother's brooch. She went still. How? Caleb found it, in the lining of the satchel. He brought it to me last week. He did not know what it was. I did. I have been waiting for a way to give it back. She took the little bundle from him. She unwrapped it. The brooch was the one her mother had pinned inside her collar the day before she died, with the small garnet that caught the light in a particular way in the middle of it. Eleanor held it in her palm. Samuel. Ma'am. Ask me again in the spring. Which spring? Any spring. All right. But do not ask me because I am ready. Ask me because you are. All right, Eleanor. He stood. At the door, he stopped. Eleanor. Yes. I have waited longer than this for worse things. I know you have. I will wait. He closed the door. She sat a long time with the brooch in her hand. Then she got up, and she went to her father's little writing table in the corner of the room, and she opened her own ledger of the river parcel, and she began for the second time that week to list the names of widows in the county who had not yet been written to. The life she had been handed on the post road in the rain had been a life in which her name belonged to someone else. Her land belonged to someone else, and her body belonged to someone else. The life she was making now in a borrowed room in a stranger's house that had become less of a stranger's house every week belonged to her. There would be years still of arguing with her own past. There would be nights when she woke up certain she could hear wagon wheels in the drive and had to lie still in the dark and wait for her heart to remember that she was not in a ditch anymore. There would be a spring 2 years on in a quiet Methodist chapel with Mrs. Mercer as her only attendant and Caleb Hale standing up for the groom, where she would marry Samuel Ashford, of her own plain and considered will, and where she would wear her mother's brooch at her throat instead of a borrowed veil, and where she would say the word husband aloud in a voice that did not tremble once. But all of that was later. That Sunday evening in June in the back bedroom of Ashford House, with the brooch in one hand and her father's pen in the other, Eleanor Whitmore did what Jonathan Hale had spent the last night of their marriage trying to keep her from doing. She signed her own name. She signed it to a lease. She signed it to a letter. She signed it to a list of widows. She signed it over and over in her own hand, on her own paper, at her own desk, in a life that no man had given her and no man could take back. The night Jonathan Hale left her in the mud, he believed he had ended a woman's story. What he truly buried was the lie that she had ever belonged to him. And from that ditch, in that rain on that road, a woman, the world had been told was dead, stood up, walked out, and began for the first time and for the rest of her days to belong entirely to herself.